Hello Year 5 and Year 6, welcome back to your English Lessons Live with me, Mr. Phillips. If you want to get involved today on social media, don't forget hashtag St Anne's Live, or you can tweet us at St Anne's Rainhill, and you can send any work that you do today to rsa.year6@3-saints.org.uk. You can see as well, I am dressed up because it's hashtag Well Dressed Wednesday, because I don't know about you guys, but it's nice every so often to, go through a normal morning routine. I put my teacher clothes on and things like that, though I think today it should be more like hashtag not ironed properly, but never mind. So next Wednesday, if you're here with us, why not dress up as well, go as fancy as you like, top hat, things like that, why not? So today we are carrying on with our writing from Monday, but before we get into that, let's go for a spag starter. Here we go. Now, again, Year 6, you might be familiar with this, so hopefully you guys will know the answers. Don't forget, got a piece of paper in front of you, so you can be writing down any notes and answering any questions. Don't forget, pause the video when you need time to write answers or do anything like that, okay? So, what's the difference between a phrase and a clause? Because, we get into the habit of using them very, very freely and just kind of interchanging them whenever we want, but we shouldn't be doing that. We can look at something like, every morning before I eat breakfast and be saying, oh, that's a fronted adverbial. But if you know the difference between the phrase and the clause, you'll know that it's not. So, what is a phrase? What is a clause? Well, let's talk about how they're similar first. They are both a group of words. And we use that to begin with because it's nice and simplistic. And later on, when we start defining more specific phrases and more specific clauses, then that comes in really, really important. So they're both a group of words. But a clause has got something that a phrase doesn't have. I wonder if you know what that is. Well, a clause is a group of words with a verb. It has an action word, it has a doing word, like run or jump or eat, or one of your more difficult auxiliary verbs like is and was. So, what's a phrase then? Well, phrase is nearly exactly the same. It's a group of words, but this time without a verb. And that is really, really important. Being able to tell the difference between, okay, I want you to add a clause onto your sentence, or I want you to add a phrase onto your sentence. So let's have a little look at an example. If I said in the morning, and I want to add on a fronted adverbial, well, that's absolutely fine, because that is a phrase. In the morning, we've got a preposition, we've got a determinant, and we've got a noun. There's no verb in there. But if I wanted to then change this fronted adverbial to maybe something like, when I get up, because you think, oh, well, that's a very similar kind of fronted adverbial. Actually, when I get up isn't a fronted adverbial, because when I get up isn't a phrase. Because you've got I being your pronoun, get being your verb, up being your adverb. And because you've got a verb in there, it is a clause, making that a subordinating conjunction. So it is really, really important. Now, the place where it'll become important is in your spag test. In your writing, no one's going to mind if you're using either of these things. But if I ask you, can you put an adverbial in? Well, I mean an adverbial phrase, not a clause. So after we know the difference between a clause and a phrase is a group of words with a verb, and a phrase is a group of words without a verb, when you think of the different subcategories underneath each of these. So a clause, we need to think really about a main clause and a subordinate clause. There are some other ones, but we're not going to go into those today. It's almost like a flow diagram, really. A clause is a group of words with a verb. A main clause makes sense on its own. I'm just going to give it a tick. And a subordinate clause doesn't make sense on its own. It needs to be attached to a main clause. So if we're ever defining a subordinate clause, we go through this list. It's a group of words with a verb. It doesn't make sense on its own. It's a group of words with a verb. It does make sense on its own. It's a main clause. And then we're looking at phrases. There's kind of 3 key phrases that we need to be looking at. We're looking at noun phrases or expanded noun phrases. When it's a group of words without a verb that adds detail to the noun. We can have prepositional phrases. Which again is a group of words without a verb that gives us positional information. And then we have our adverbials or our adverbial phrases. The reason I put phrases in brackets is because sometimes they're called adverbial phrases, but sometimes they're just called adverbials as well, and that can throw people. And adverbials add information to the verb. Now, if these were just one word, for example, under, it's just a preposition. If it's a group of words, it's a prepositional phrase, okay? So these are things that are all quite similar, but little differences mean they're classed differently. That's quite a lot of information for the first few minutes of a lesson, isn't it? But once we have all of that knowledge in our head, it becomes really easy to define what certain things are. For example, then if I had something like she went to the park. Let's have a space between the and park. She went to the park, give myself a bit of space here, down the road. And I said, right, what is she went to the park and what is down the road? Well, they're both groups of words, so they could be anything yet. She went to the park. Well, went is a verb, so it's going to be a clause, and she went to the park makes sense by itself. So she went to the park is a main clause. That's how we can use that flow diagram kind of idea to define what a group of words is. Here, we've still got a group of words, so that's fine. Down the road. Well, there's no verb there. There's no action. Down's a preposition, that is a determinant, and road is a noun. Full stop. Didn't forget that, no one saw that. So it's got to be a phrase because there's a group of words without a verb. And we've just said it starts with a preposition, so it's going to be a prepositional phrase. So that's kind of how you can use that approach to figure out what the groups of words that you're writing are. And that just gives you, it's good for your spag test, but it just gives you, lost my rag again, there it is. It just gives you a bit more control over what you're writing and a bit more understanding of how you're putting things together. Because I would definitely use phrases to add on small bits of information, but clauses can be used to vary your sentence structure in a more advanced way. So it's about knowing what you're using and why you're using it, okay? So that is just our little spag starter for today. So we need to make sure, I think we're about to have a visit from a cat in a second. I can see that Martha is on her way, probably wanting to get out of the room while I'm teaching. So today we are adding on some of our writing from last week. So should we recap on not from last week, from earlier this week on Monday, should we recap on the piece of writing that we did? Luckily I've made a note of everything we've done. So we were looking at the Anthony Brown book Zoo, and we came up with different plot points, and we came up with getting ready for the zoo, going on the trip, seeing the first few animals. Here she comes. Hello, Martha. Kind of you are disturbing the professionalism of my lesson. No, come on, away from there. No. Oh, Martha. Well, that was brilliant, lovely. Thanks, Martha. See you later. There is actually another cat in here. Barry is also in here. So undoubtedly he will also be leaving in a second as well. Where was I? Oh yeah, 5 plot points. Getting ready, going on the trip, seeing the first few animals, hunger sets in, there's more animals, Seeing the Gorilla, On the Way Home, and then The Dream. Those were the 8 plot points that we were looking at. And on Monday, we did number 1, we did Getting Ready. So let's just recap ourselves on the piece of writing that we did. A trip to the zoo. There's nothing particularly exciting about that, is there? Nothing gripping or unusual. Nothing story-worthy. That's what I thought too. The sun hung low in the sky that Saturday morning, : it seemed almost nervous to begin the day. Long shadows from the trees surrounding our garden formed distorted cage bars across the grass. I was struggling to squeeze my feet into my battered, certainly too small trainers when Dad's voice roared up the stairs. "Come on, monkey brains," he screamed affectionately. "Get a move on, or we'll leave without you." Looking back now, I wish they had. So that was our piece of writing the other day. It was really good. We looked at loads of different techniques. So today, we're looking at doing the trip, okay? Plot point 2, looking at the trip. So this will be either your second paragraph, or if, like me, you did a little bit of a prologue paragraph, it'll be your third one, but it's the second plot point, and it's going on the trip. Okay, let's quickly remind ourselves of that page from the book, because again, just for now, we're just doing one page at a time. There were masses of cars on the road, and it took ages to get there. After a while, so after a while being a adverbial phrase because there's no verb in there. After a while, Harry and I got really bored, so we had a fight. Harry started crying and Dad told me off. It's not fair. He never tells Harry off. It's always my fault. "What kind of jam do you get stuck in?" asked Dad. "I don't know," said Harry. "A traffic jam," roared Dad. Everyone laughed except Mum and Harry and me. And there's the traffic jam picture. Now, I'm going to go a little bit off Anthony Brown's story. I'm going to kind of do it my own version. So actually, I'm very much not using what happened in the text. I'm not going to have a fight, really. I'm going to have a bit of punching. I'm not having Dad tell the joke. I am focusing in on him being told off. Even though I love the line of, everyone laughed apart from Mum, Harry and me, I'm not actually going to use that today. I'm not going to steal that. I am going to put that in my brain for another future piece of writing that I do, but not today. But that doesn't mean that you can't. If there's things in there that you really like or you want to focus in on, then please do. One thing that I was trying maybe to get into my writing was the almost gorilla-like truck driver. But again, I couldn't in my plan make that work. So I'm focusing on the things that I wanted to talk about. I've got 3 little writing challenges for you today as well. So in today's piece of writing, we're going to try and get some parenthesis in. Okay. And then just a quick recap on parenthesis. It is the use of punctuation to add in additional information. Okay. It is the use of brackets, commas, or dashes to add in extra information. And that information that you add in can be taken out and your sentence will still make sense. That's the real key bit of parenthesis. Don't put anything inside the parenthesis that is vital to your writing. So I don't mind if we use brackets, commas, or dashes today for our parenthesis. Okay, the next challenge is we are going to have a little look at using some metaphors. Now, I did use a metaphor in our last piece of writing, but I want to look at using metaphors again today, and especially what we spoke about on Monday about keeping that consistent metaphorical thread running through your piece and trying to zone all of your metaphors towards that particular idea. And then we're also going to look at repetition and the power of 3, repeating something 3 times in order to make it planned repetition and to make it really, really effective. So, on the trip, we've just finished with, well, I've just finished with, you know, I wish they had left me. And now I need to get myself into my next plot point. So really, in this plot point, the trip isn't going to focus on, I'm not going to make it wild or anything like that. I'm going to focus on the fact that they were in the traffic jam. And like we were saying on Monday, I want to just get there, okay? I want to have a cohesive piece. So I want my piece to flow, but I don't want to spend ages. Okay, we got into the car, I put my seatbelt on, we reversed out the drive, we went down the road. We don't need all of that. We need just enough information to link from where we were to where we are now. So I want to get us very quickly to the traffic jam in a very cohesive way. So I'm going to go with this idea of we'd only got half a mile down the road and then we're in a traffic jam, okay? And that's kind of come from, you know, the idea of, I think it's a Simpsons episode where they're on a trip, they go, yay, they reverse out the drive, and then they go down the road and then straight into traffic. Yeah, I've kind of got that image in my head for my writing. So that's what I'm going to go straight with. New paragraph, indent, I'm going to go, we had journeyed and there got a bit of past perfect with my auxiliary verb there, had journeyed, rather than just say we journeyed, we had journeyed. And again, because we're doing this from the boy's point of view, I don't want anything to be too analytical. I don't want to be, we went for exactly 13 minutes and 5.3 miles, because he wouldn't know that. So let's make it, you know, a rough approximation. Let's even use that word. We had journeyed roughly half a mile down the road and then this is possibly an option to use a metaphor. Maybe we can describe the traffic not like or as, but if it is something else. I'm also going to try and vary my subordinating conjunctions. I'm just looking back on my last piece of writing. I had an as last time. Just trying to make sure that I'm not overly using it. I'm gonna use the conjunction before, I think, because when works really well here. We had journeyed roughly half a mile down the road when this happened. But I think I said that when the voice echoed up through the... yeah, I've used it then when Dad's voice roared up the stairs. And again, I think in stories, when and because and are the conjunctions that people jump to quite quickly. So I always, when I'm about to put one, I'm always thinking, is there something else I can use instead? Just because, you know, it's great to use whens, but I know that I'll probably need to use them quite a lot. And I want to make conscious choices where I can about not using them if that's possible. We had journeyed roughly half a mile down the road before running into now what can I call the traffic? What metaphor? I suppose I call it a solid wall. That kind of links into our metaphorical theme, doesn't it? This idea of walls and captivity. I might put a little squiggle under that and see if I can come back to it at the end and refine it slightly. But I think solid wall is a good start. Before running into, I'm not going to say traffic which was like a solid wall or traffic like a solid wall. It's a solid wall of traffic. Full stop. And that's my first sentence. We had journeyed roughly half a mile down the road before running into a solid wall of traffic. And there, just jumping back to the starter, I've got a load of varied sentence structures there. I've got my main clause, we had journeyed roughly half a mile. That's my group of words with a verb, had journeyed, that makes sense. We've then got down the road, which is a prepositional phrase, because we had journeyed roughly half a mile, could have a full stop after it. Down the road is my prepositional phrase. And then I've got, because it's a group of words with no verb that tells me about my position. I've then got before running into a solid wall of traffic, which is my subordinate clause, because it's a group of words that have got a verb in it, running into, or well, running and then into is describing how, and then, but it doesn't make sense by itself, before running into a solid wall of traffic. So I've got a main clause, a prepositional phrase, and a subordinate clause, all in that sentence. Yes, go me. Okay, so here in one sentence, I've managed to link where I was to where I want to be now. So now I'm in the traffic jam. So I'm at the point of my plot point, and I've not wasted paragraphs and paragraphs trying to get there, and it's still quite entertaining. Okay? Now, again, I quite liked writing as Dad for my piece. I enjoyed doing that. I don't think I want to introduce talking as Mum yet or anything like that. I don't think I've set that up enough. But this is the point where I'm a bit like, right, well, what do I do now? Because I'm sat in traffic, I've got a whole thing, loads of things that I could talk about. I could talk about any of the 5 senses, sight, smell, sound, touch and taste. But I could also do 4 of the other writing lenses, dialogue, action, inner thought and feelings. Now, of all of those, I don't really want to start staring out of the window just yet. It would be brilliant to do it, but in the last piece of writing we did quite a lot of visual description. So maybe we want to do a bit more action, a bit more things actually happening in this piece. So I'm going to go straight to writing dialogue. Again, we don't want too much dialogue, just one thing that he can say just to start pushing our story along. So new speaker, new line. And obviously, I don't think Dad is going to be happy about the traffic at all. So he's going to say, oh, well, that is... And then I might actually have him not finishing a sentence. I might having him trailing off, like I often do when I'm saying sentences. I get halfway through a sentence and then you just like that one, and you just don't say anything. You just trail off. Oh, well, that is... And then... That's where we're going to finish. Dad growled. Have I used growled before? No, I've used roared. Again, pushing it back to the metaphorical theme. Oh, well, that is Dad growled. What can he be doing? Well, let's say under his breath, because he's kind of muttering it, isn't he? Under his breath. Oh, well, that is... Dad growled under his breath. Again, that's not advancing the plot, but that is advancing the character. He's very quick to anger, which, you know, we know plays in quite importantly later. And maybe I want to say what he does instead of finishing his sentence. Maybe he starts like pummeling the horn. So rather than finish his sentence, comma, he pounded, and remember I use a pronoun there because we know we're talking about Dad. He pounded the car's horn repeatedly. It's the horn belonging to the car, repeatedly. Yeah. Oh, well, that is... Dad growled under his breath. Rather than finish his sentence, he pounded the car's horn repeatedly. Maybe we could add maybe add a simile, and we've got our metaphor. Maybe this is a point where we could have some parenthesis. Let's use... So what I teach my year 6s is that brackets are quite formal, commas we really use for embedding clauses, but dashes are more informal, like little side thoughts of the character. So let's put a dash. So dash. Rather than finish his sentence, he pounded the car's horn repeatedly. It reminded me of an angry ape. I was going to put gorilla, but angry ape is good alliteration. It reminded me of an angry ape. Maybe hungry. Hungry for food. Actually, no, I don't need that bit. I think we can just go for angry ape. Let's not oversell it to our audience, shall we? Oh well, that is... Dad growled under his breath. Rather than finish his sentence, he pounded the car's horn repeatedly. Dash. It reminded me of an angry ape. Or maybe he reminded me of an angry ape. Sometimes. There you go, live editing for you. There we go. He pounded the car's horn repeatedly. He reminded me of an angry ape sometimes. That's good. That feels more like a side thought. So perfect. I've got my parenthesis in there. So I've got ourselves to the traffic jam with some cohesion there. I've then got ourselves into the traffic jam and established this theme of, and this idea of being annoyed and tense and everyone being a little bit stressed out. Okay, so now I need some repetition. Well, I'm going to try and show you repetition in two ways. I'm going to try and show you repetition in sentence structure, and as in like a list, and also repetition as in directly repeating what you've said a few times with slight changes. So I don't want to now list any more things in such detail as I have done here. Otherwise it'll be Dad was doing this and then he did this and this, and Mum was doing this and this and this, and it might drag on for too long. So I'm just going to kind of sum up maybe the rest of the journey. So I might say the whole ordeal, the ordeal is like an awful event. The whole, can you see it there? Am I blocking the way? No, not really. Well, the whole ordeal seemed to last, and again we're using, because it's from a character's point of view, he doesn't know exactly how long it lasted, so we're trying to do approximate. Seems to last 4 hours. There we go. Seemed to last for hours. And that is linking me into my next bit, a bit of cohesion. Some time has passed since then, so I can work onto something else. I'm going to use the phrase all the while. So, and this is quite tricky. Whoops daisy. So rather than being present in the moment, like we are with this one, where we're describing exactly what was happening as it was happening, we're now going to do a different type of description when we're kind of summing up, during this time, the following things happened, which is a bit more of a succinct way of writing these kind of events. The whole ordeal seemed to last for hours, all the while. So here's, I'm going to try and do a bit of repetition in sentence structure. All the while, comma, Dad honked the horn. Comma, Mum, gonna go up to the top again, I think. Goodbye, these pieces of information. So I'm just doing quite a repetitive, easy list. All the while, Dad honked the horn. Mum tutted and sighed. So tutted was it. Tutted and sighed. I'm trying to show a little bit of the character as well. So Dad's really angry. Mum is very, passive aggressive. Sit there and tut and sigh. And Harry, I'm actually going to swap these for semicolons for my list, just because they're not as simple as one word items. Dad honked the horn. Mum tutted and sighed. And Harry kept prodding and poking me. Now, I had this idea of maybe putting a relative clause in there to again, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to add a relative, it's serious because I've just got up onto my knees. Hardcore right now. I had this idea for a relative clause, and I don't know if I'm dragging it out a little bit, but I think it's such a nice way of describing him that it would be good for you guys to see. But be aware that I'm putting in but I'm concerned that it might slow the pace of what I'm writing down, but we'll only know that once we read it back. And Harry, and I'm going to put a relative clause in, which means I have to have semicolons here now, because I can't have colons within my list, which is separated by commas. Sorry, commas set in my list separated by commas, otherwise everyone will get really confused about what's doing what's job. And Harry, who seemed to be going, actually I'm going to take out seemed, because I've used seemed down there, who, I'm just going to say was going, was clearly going for the gold medal at the Annoying Brother Olympics. So there's a couple of things about that. One, it's a really nice relative clause because it takes a concept that we know well, going for gold in the Olympics, and just turns it on its head slightly by putting Annoying Brother Olympics. And really we could use that phrase to describe any character. You know, we could use this, you know, Dad, who was clearly going for the gold at the bad driving Olympics. You know, that's a really good relative clause to kind of steal and alter slightly to fit your writing. Downside number one, does it slow the pace down? We'll find out in a minute. Downside number two, it doesn't quite link into our thematic theme, but it does describe Harry quite well. And Harry, who was clearly going for the gold medal at the Annoying Brother Olympics, was poking and prodding me. Poking and prodding me. Now, I've got quite a few long sentences, so when I have my main character hitting Harry back, I don't want to drag it out. It's just something like, a swift punch soon ended that. A swift punch soon ended that. Now, we've run out of time and run out of board space, really, because there was one little bit that I wanted to add on. But what I'll do is I'll save that for our next writing lesson. So at the beginning of next writing lesson, I will add on the little bit of repeated dialogue that I wanted to have on my story. Actually, you know what? I'll just tell you what I was going to put. What I wanted to do is I wanted to then have repetition of "don't hit your brother" coming from each of the characters in a slightly different way. So I could have, you know, a swift punch soon ended that. New speaker, new line. "Don't hit your brother," snarled Dad. New speaker, new line. "Don't hit your brother," squawked Mum. "Don't hit your brother," smirked Harry, a cheeky monkey grin. Oh, that's a bit rubbish. A grin like a cheeky monkey spreading across his face. So I've repeated the same dialogue 3 times, and each of the characters have said it in a bit of an animalistic way, but we get a lot from their character. Mum's squawky and squeaky, Dad's growly and grumpy, and Harry is like a cheeky monkey, and he's grinning like, "Don't hit your brother," in that really annoying brotherly way. Okay, so that's what I was going to do. Let's have one final read of our writing today. "We had journeyed roughly half a mile down the road before running into a solid wall of traffic. 'Oh, well, that is,' Dad growled under his breath. Rather than finish his sentence, he pounded the car's horn repeatedly. He reminded me of an angry ape sometimes. The whole ordeal seemed to last for hours. All the while, Dad honked the horn, Mum tutted inside, and Harry, who was clearly going for the gold medal at the Annoying Brother Olympics, was poking and prodding me. A swift punch soon ended that. 'Don't hit your brother,' snarled Dad. 'Don't hit your brother,' squawked Mum. 'Don't hit your brother,' sniggered Harry, a grin like a cheeky monkey spreading across his face. And that is our second plot point, the trip. So that's what I'll let you guys do. Take your writing from Monday and add on the second plot point remembering your challenges are metaphors, repetition, and something else, which was parenthesis. I will see you guys tomorrow for another reading session. Thank you so much. See you later, guys.